go through some of my training footage here, as you can see, and I'm going to touch on a couple things. The first one is that I have only been doing jumping lunges for the last 2 years. And prior to that, I hadn't trained legs for many, many moons, many years. If you're unfamiliar, I had an ankle injury at a young age that healed incorrectly, that has led to a lot of asymmetries, muscle imbalances. If your foot doesn't move right, your knee's not going to move right, your hips aren't going to move right, your spine, your shoulders, everything is going to be out of alignment. This is kind of a new concept to you, or you're unfamiliar with my story. I'm going to link in the description what happened, and there's a video where I kind of outline in detail how this dysfunction has developed over the years. And ultimately it led to my pelvis sitting out of alignment fairly substantially. And so any kind of traditional leg exercise, be it squats, be it even leg press, deadlifts, anything, because my pelvis is misaligned, where the right side is shifted forward and up, so the left is back and down, it's crooked. Everybody's a little bit out of alignment. Mine is like pretty substantially out of alignment. Any type of regular exercise where your feet are planted in a squat or a deadlift or a leg press or anything, this muscle imbalance gets exacerbated or made worse, and then it would lead to my lower back seizing up, back pain, strain of my psoas on the right side, which one of your hip flexor muscles, and ultimately just symptoms significant enough that I had to discontinue training. So for many years I stopped and then started to experiment with different things. I tried, hill running, I tried spin bike intervals, and everything would kind of flare up the issue. Eventually I landed on jumping lunges, just kind of tried them randomly. Maybe this will work. And okay, if I stretch out properly and try to counteract a lot of the muscle imbalances, do a few sets of bodyweight jumping lunges and stretch again afterwards, it seems to not exacerbate the problem or make it worse. And this was 2 years ago. And I just kept sticking with it, kept plugging away, eventually progressed with the bodyweight jumping lunges enough that I could start adding weight, hold on to 5 or 10 pound dumbbells. Fast forward 2 years, we're up to the 75-pound dumbbells, 150 pounds total for 8 to 14 reps in that rep range. Higher at the beginning, and then as I fatigue more, it comes down a bit. It's a bit wacky, it's a bit unusual, and I think part of it is that I don't fully trust my body, having had so many issues from different movements in the past. Once I found something that worked, I was just like, thank goodness, I'm just gonna do this. I'm so grateful that I can train my legs. And for some context, I would say a lot of my motivation with legs is just for them not to be small. I'm not really super motivated to try to build massive big legs. But as I've trained my arms and seen some upper body growth from that, it starts to look a bit silly if you kind of have these chicken leg spindlers down low spindlers, your lower limbs. So a lot of my motivation is to train them to have a balanced physique still and still look strong. And I've been amazed at what I've been able to do and progress. When I first started out and I just found bodyweight lunges, I was like, okay, I can get a leg pump, I can do something for them. I never would have thought, 2 years later, I'd be able to hold on to 150 pounds and jump up in the air. Again, from an anatomical muscle imbalance, structural perspective, the video linked in the description, if you're interested or a lot of this isn't making sense and that's what you're focused on, 100% you should click on that. But I will say a quick note that split stance movements are certainly easier to execute if you have imbalance issues, which a substantial amount of people do, and you're having difficulty squatting and doing all these other things. If you do a squat and your hips are sitting out of alignment and you've got a blockage, let's say in my case in your ankle, as you bend down, that right foot, that right knee can't bend over your ankle properly. The knee's going to collapse in, the hip's going to rotate forward on the right side in my case, and everything is going to be crooked, and you're going to further ingrain those imbalances. Especially if you train for muscle development or for muscle gain. And I think that's where a lot of people get kind of caught in the weeds too, is how can you be so dysfunctional or have all these muscle imbalances but still be able to walk around and do stuff. There's a difference between managing the issue and being a little crooked and still being able to move around and be somewhat active, and then training the muscles to failure to build muscle. That's a really intense process where if things are significantly out of alignment, you're playing with fire. And you're going to exacerbate the issues and make the imbalances worse if you don't address it in a way where you're considering what the imbalance is. And so general human activity with some imbalances and asymmetries, yes, the body's very adaptive. Training to really extreme levels to try to stimulate significant amounts of muscle growth, a different story. So I think it's important to make that distinction between those two things. Because I've just seen a lot of the feedback where people, I think, are getting a bit confused. They're not realizing, like, yes, I can still move around and walk and do things, and you can be a little crooked. Your body doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. But if you want to train specific muscles that are sitting around a joint that is significantly out of alignment, you're going to run into issues 100%. And I've seen the worst of this early on when I didn't understand it and I kept training. And then eventually it traveled all the way up into my shoulders. Left collarbone sits about an inch higher than the right. My whole left side of my face started going numb. Went to the hospital in the middle of the night, saw a doctor, kind of implied I had a brain tumor, this whole freaking thing. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling. That's a topic for another video. The last point I guess I'll finish with is some of my structure for leg training. I hit them once, right now, once every 4 days. So I train legs and then I take 3 days off where I hit arms every day. And then I hit legs again. And my legs are less advanced where this type of frequency still works. And I do 6 sets, resting 3 to 5 minutes in between each set, pushing to failure or close in the like 8 to 15 rep range. And just doing that over and over, I've been able to pretty substantially progress the weight and gain muscle. And this is how I would say you should structure your training for any muscle group in the beginning. Extremely high intensity, consistency always going, pushing with a little bit of a fast explosive tempo, in this case the jumping, and then I try to control when I come down, which is a bit coincidental. I've tried regular lunges and it seemed to seize up some of the muscles and make it worse. There's something I don't fully understand. There's something about the jumping aspect that doesn't cause as much tension in my glutes and my hip flexors, and I'm able to keep enough mobility and flexibility in there that the imbalance doesn't get worse. But all that being said, if you're familiar with my channel, I do think whether you're doing jumping lunges or whatever movement, I think adding some explosiveness to the concentric will help you to progress the weight at a faster rate. And I've seen significant gains just doing 6 sets, training once every 4 days, focusing on progressing the weight. That's the foundation of your growth as long as you train with really high intensity. And usually I feel at least a little bit like puking. It's not a good workout if I don't feel like puking and I don't have trouble like moving my legs around. So you got to push really, really hard. I think that's the key ingredient. And this points to like a lot of my discussion with arm training. A lot of the same principles apply, and depending on where you're at in your journey, a structure this simple, if you're hitting those kind of fundamental aspects, primarily the intensity and the consistency, and chasing for additional reps, that's going to get you a long ways. I think to like 80+% of your natural potential. And then you have to start doing crazier things. And I'm not at that level yet. I've still been able to grow my legs and my glutes just following this regular structure, but it's starting to slow down. And within like another 6 months, I would probably need to either increase the volume or increase the frequency or start adding drop sets in, intensity techniques. I need to make the training more extreme. But for right now, it's working. And that's what my leg training looks like, just doing the jumping lunges and seeing some progress, being grateful for the progress, managing the imbalance issues, and just attacking it. Not really loving leg day all the time. There's no glory in legs is what I would always say. Meaning, what I say, as if I'm some prophet that it gets quoted. I say that because if you do like on arm day or even like a chest day, which I don't do, but you guys do, there's glory. You get a sick pump. It feels awesome. You know, you look in the mirror, you're all it's awesome. Legs, I mean, unless you're going to wear really short shorts, but how cool is a leg pump anyways? To me, it's like, okay, cool, my legs are inflated. I don't really care. And you just feel nauseous. Like if you really train hard enough, the legs are such big muscles comparatively in your body that for me, if I am getting a significant leg workout in and getting a good leg pump in, I feel a little bit like puking dizzy, out of breath. Like it's not, there's no glory. It's just a grind, in my opinion. So that's legs, man. Yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Mostly, yeah, I focus on talking about training arms because I feel like I've developed substantial results with arms, and I don't think you should give advice on how to do something if you haven't, walked the walk, if you haven't put the sweat equity in. And so that's why I haven't really talked about my leg training that much, is because they're under construction. I don't think there's anything that impressive about the legs. So it's like, what am I going to say about specific advice about leg training? It's like, I think you should spend more time developing the product. And that is something I see so much of in the fitness space, is like people focusing on the theory and the science of how to do something, but they don't really have the results sometimes, right? So it's just like, for me personally, I don't want to give advice or talk extensively about how to do something if I haven't actually developed the results to a level that I feel is adequate. And with my arms, I think getting to 18 inches naturally is like a really solid level where, I've put tons of time and energy into that and developed a result that is really hard to do for most people. And therefore I feel like I've earned the right to talk extensively about what I've done and what I've experienced and what my theories are around the training. And that's who I would want to take advice from, is somebody who's done the work, not just developed the theory and is talking about it. And so with legs, I'm like, they're not, I haven't really done the work. And I'm not like super crazy passionate and like driven to try to get massive legs. So if you have any questions about leg training, I'm happy to answer them, but that's why I've mostly just focused on the arm training, and that's what I'm more passionate about, and that's what I love. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace.